There is a feeling we all know, a tension that lives in our shoulders, our jaws, our chests. It is the feeling of holding on too tight. We live in a culture that taught us to grip, to control the outcome, to manage the perception, to force the plan into existence. We treat life like a machine that will break if we're not constantly tuning it, and we treat ourselves like the exhausted mechanic, on call 24/7. But what if this very act of gripping, this desperate need for control, is the source of our struggle? What if the path to a life that truly flows, a life of clarity, connection, and effortless success, isn't found in holding on tighter, but in the profound and terrifying art of letting go? This isn't a New Age fantasy. It is one of the deepest truths echoed by the greatest minds in history, from the ancient Daoist sage Lao Tzu in the East to the Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome. They all discovered that true power is not found in the clenched fist of control, but in the open hand of surrender. Today, we explore how to make that shift, and how life mysteriously rushes in to meet you when you finally do. Part 1. The Anatomy of the Grip. Why we cling to control. Our obsession with control isn't a character flaw. It's a deep-seated survival instinct running on outdated software. The Roman philosopher and statesman Seneca, a master of Stoicism, taught that our suffering doesn't come from the events in our lives, but from our judgment and our reaction to those events. The Stoics knew that we are tormented by our desperate attempts to control things that are fundamentally outside our control. Other people's opinions, the turn of the market, the timing of life. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a critical email from your boss and a saber-toothed tiger in the wild. It responds to the perceived lack of control with the same ancient fight or flight chemicals. This puts us in a state of constant, low-grade anxiety. We live with a clenched jaw and shallow breath, believing that if we just think harder, plan better, and work longer, we can finally wrestle reality into submission. This is what I call the control paradox. The more you try to force a desired outcome, the more resistance and friction you create, ironically pushing that outcome further away. Consider a woman named Jessica. She is a talented manager leading a critical project. She fears failure, so she doubles down on control. She micromanages her team, triple checks every email, and stays up all night running through every possible negative scenario. She is gripping with all her might. But what is the result? Her team, feeling distrusted and suffocated, becomes less creative and motivated. Her own exhaustion leads to mistakes. The very failure she is trying to prevent is being drawn closer by the chaotic energy of her own fear. Jessica isn't controlling the project. The fear of losing control is controlling her. Part 2. The Practice of Surrender. The Art of Wu Wei. So if gripping tighter doesn't work, what is the alternative? The answer is a sophisticated and powerful form of surrender. This is not the same as giving up. Giving up is an act of despair. True surrender is an act of profound trust. In ancient China, Daoist philosophy gave this a name, Wu Wei. It is often translated as non-action, but a better interpretation is effortless action or non-coercive action. It is the art of achieving by moving with the natural flow of things, rather than struggling against it. Imagine a novice sailor caught in a strong current, frantically rowing against it and exhausting themselves. The master sailor, however, doesn't fight the current. They adjust their sails, using the power of the wind and the water to guide their boat exactly where they want to go, with minimal effort. They are practicing Wu Wei. This ancient concept has a powerful modern parallel in the psychological theory of flow state, popularized by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is that magical state of being in the zone, where you are so absorbed in an activity that your sense of a separate, controlling self dissolves. You and the action become one. You are not forcing, you are flowing. Let's return to our manager, Jessica. She's on the verge of burnout. The project is stalling. In a moment of sheer exhaustion, she has to let go. She can't answer every email. She can't oversee every detail. She holds a team meeting and does something terrifying. Instead of giving a list of commands, she simply states the ultimate goal, expresses her trust in the team's talent, and asks them how they think they can best achieve it. She has stopped trying to row against the current. She has surrendered control of the how in order to trust the who. She has, in her own way, begun to practice Wu Wei. Part 3. The response. How life meets you in the flow. What happens next is the beautiful mystery that this entire philosophy hinges on. When Jessica lets go of her grip, life responds. First, her team, now feeling trusted and empowered, steps up. They bring new, creative solutions to the table. Ideas Jessica never could have forced into existence through a spreadsheet. By creating a space of trust, she allowed a higher intelligence, the collective intelligence of the group, to emerge. Second, Jessica herself changes. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, her mind becomes quieter. The desperate chatter of what-if scenarios fades, and in that newfound quiet she experiences true clarity. Opportunities and solutions that were there all along but were invisible through her fog of anxiety suddenly become obvious. She's not thinking harder. She is finally quiet enough to hear. This leads to the most profound change of all, the shift in her presence. She no longer walks into a room with the frantic, tense energy of a micromanager. She walks in with a calm, grounded confidence. She listens more than she speaks. She is present. This energy is magnetic. People are not drawn to her because she is in control, but because she is so peacefully in control of herself. The psychologist Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of ourselves to become a whole, authentic being. This is what happens when we let go. We stop letting our conscious, fearful ego drive every action, and we allow a deeper, wiser self to emerge. This whole, integrated person doesn't need to force respect or connection. They radiate a quiet authority that naturally draws it in. The open hand. The journey from the clenched fist of control to the open hand of surrender is the journey to a more powerful and peaceful life. It is the realization that clarity comes from quiet, not from frantic thought. That true influence comes from presence, not from pressure. And that life's greatest opportunities often arrive only when we've stopped chasing them. This is not an act of passivity. It is the highest form of trust in the world, in others, and most importantly, in yourself. It is the trust that you don't have to hold everything together for it not to fall apart. As the great Daoist sage Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." So, the next time you feel that familiar urge to grip, to force, to control, try a small experiment. Exhale, unclench your hands, and just for a moment, trust the current. You may be astonished to find it was always taking you exactly where you needed to go.